crack the matrix of getting into Costco for a couple of, how many people would you say?
Oh yeah, I've gotten it for 23 different companies. Now, when you say that, I've cracked, I think of cracking the code for QVC. So QVC
Oh,
television, thousands of people want to get on QVC television. Very
right,
few do. And
right.
so for me to get my first item on QVC television took me 4 years. After I cracked the code, as you said, I ended up getting 11 more items on QVC television very quickly after that first item. After 4 years of trying to figure out the code,
Uh-huh,
and when you
uh-huh.
say crack the code, I think of, but it's similar with Costco. It really is similar as far as cracking the code. There is a code and there's a
Okay.
process. You have to speak in a certain, I mean, there's certain things they're looking for. There's certain things they need, and you need to be able to meet all those requirements. And so it's just like with everything that I've done, there's a code to be had. And if you know the map, and you understand what the constraints are, what the needs are, and where the mountains and the valleys and
Yeah.
the rapids are, you can avoid and or go down the path. And so what I've ended up doing is finding a path that works and follow it.
Like a
That's
treasure
really
map. Arr.
right. Exactly.
Arr, matey.
Yep.
So because I'm going to come back to Costco and then like I'm saying like hacked or cracked or whatever to or the map to Costco, and why I bring this up is for a couple of different things, and one is I appreciate what Costco does. Like they don't just let anyone in. They have to be vetted
Right.
in some way, and it has to be the way that they want. They have a
There's a
specific
way. Yeah,
specific
there's a way to think
formula.
about. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
way to think about this. Think about your Walmart Supercenter has about a hundred has approximately 100,000 items there.
Okay, that's a lot.
Think of Yeah, and it's the size is roughly, I don't know if it's the same as a Costco, but it's
Sure.
I mean it's similar in
Yeah.
size. I know
Yeah.
they're not exactly. And then you have a Costco location. If you had to guess, but I'll just share with you, there's 4,000, only 4,000 items in a Costco. So that's 4% of what's in a Walmart.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So
So
you're right. So
so
it's
they have to
very,
be,
very
they
select.
have to be selective. And
Yep.
one of the things, I mean, they have a really good, they have a good return policy because they stand by what they've allowed to go in their stores. And so
Right.
they have quality. And then I like the fact that when I get something from Costco, I'm like, I know that this is a version that is sold somewhere else, but a step above it, So let's say I'm
Yeah.
getting, I don't know, I'm just going to say like Doritos.
Right.
It is Doritos, but it is maybe very close to, let's say, I don't know, let's say it's a bag of Doritos and it's equivalent to two bags, right? Because they're going to do
Yep.
bulk, right? So it's equivalent to two bags. It's not the price of one bag, but it's not the price of two bags. It's one. Or if I'm all right, so like, or another example would be like if I'm getting a computer, this is how my brain works. And I think of Costco. For one, they have the good return policy. And there's some nuances to that as well when you get electronics there, right? But what
Mhm.
I do know is that let's say you got a laptop and it had this much storage and this much speed in it, right? And it would take the same brand that is offering somewhere else and be like, all right, if this one was say 500 gigs, let's just say in this laptop somewhere else, Costco's like, listen, you're going to give it to us for like 100 gigs in here, right? Am I kind of
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So
Yes.
that our customers are getting, and then they're not going to double the price, even though it went from 500 to 100 gigs. They're going to go ahead and be like, all right, we're going to do 100 gigs and we're going to do it at this price, and you have to give us some kind of quality. Would you agree with that?
Not only, yeah, not, you're absolutely correct. No, so absolutely. That's why. So Costco is the largest seller of diamonds, single source seller of diamonds in the
I did
world.
not know that.
They're the largest wine store in the world. There's no one that sells more wine. When they buy salmon, when they choose the source of salmon, it impacts the entire world market of salmon. So they're the third largest retailer in the world with only a few hundred locations.
They
They
do
have
have good
they have
salmon.
individual, so to give you an idea, they have individual locations that do about $10 million per week, or that is a $500 million in sales. Half billion in one Costco location. One Costco location. I'm not talking about the whole company. I'm saying
Right.
one of their locations
Wow.
can do approximately a $500 million a year in sales.
So number one diamonds, number one wine, and then
Yeah, there's no one that sells as many pumpkin pies as they do. They sell millions and millions and millions of pumpkin pies at
they do have
Thanksgiving.
a good pumpkin pie, and it's a big
Yeah,
pumpkin pie.
right,
Like,
right.
like they're
So,
like, we're gonna take the regular standard and we're gonna Costco size it, and it's gonna be
yeah,
delicious.
right. And so they're very, there's just it's an amazing business. It's just an amazing business. And I've had a good fortune of meeting the founder, Jim Senegal, 4 different times, and
Wow.
I've learned from him on almost everything that I know about Costco. So much of it is directly from him and from the people that work with him, as far as what's happening and the innovations that he's made. Also, he's the one that has influenced so much of the success of my clients in other areas as well, because of his ideas, his strategies, and the things that he makes happen. It wasn't until I started doing things with Costco that I realized so many of the things, so many of the issues, opportunities just in the food space. And it's just changed everything. Just so many different things changed for me. But you're not imagining at all, because they have some incredible secret weapons. It's not necessarily secret, but people don't realize really what's
Standard.
happening. Yeah.
Standards.
So one of
Yeah.
the things to share with you, when I tell you this, and my camera, when I share this with you, you're going to you're going to understand it. But one of the things, Costco, this is one of the strange things. Costco does not make money from selling a product. Did you know that?
Oh, um,
So when you buy
no,
a pen,
like
when you buy
it's
when you
clicking
buy
inside, but like, no, I did not know that off the cuff. Absolutely not.
Yeah, so Jim will grill you. So if you're a building manager, if you work for Costco and you're selling a product for more than basically what it cost, you're going to get in trouble with Jim and also other leadership. He's retired. He's not in the day to day, but um, you're going to be have an issue because of the way they run the business. So they do not the profits they make as a company do not come from selling merchandise. So when you buy, what are the top three things you like to buy you mentioned Doritos. Okay, so the
Yeah, I like
Doritos,
your
do you
I
buy
like
Doritos at Walmart or Publix?
I have absolutely have
Yep.
done that. Yeah.
And so Walmart and Publix, when you buy those Doritos, there's profit for the
Oh my
retailer.
gosh.
At Costco, there's no profit. So the reason being, Tim, what are you talking about? Help out, explain this.
Yes.
So what Costco does is they basically the profit they make is from selling their membership. So
Wow.
if you go Costco is a publicly traded company, just pull up the number of memberships they're selling each year. Look at the number, their membership income, then look at the profit number. So as a company, what's the profit of Costco? It's roughly equivalent
To a
to the
membership.
amount of their cards, so the membership cards.
Wow. Wow. Huh.
And so because of that, they only sell the merchandise enough to cover their business expenses.
I think I like him even more now because I mean, although I tend to shirk from having to pay a membership for anything, it's almost like I wish I would have known this before today, and I will tell you why. If I was because initially when I bought the membership, I was like, all right, well, in order to be a member of this club, I've got to pay to get in, right? And I was like, fine, that's I'm just gonna go in and buy my stuff or whatever. And I appreciate, everything going on in there and that kind of thing. But what I'm realizing that I was actually buying was trusting that what I'm getting is at cost from this point on.
Yep.
That's huge. That
Right.
is huge to me. Like, yeah, you
Yes.
got to pay. I mean, I don't know. I did not know this, but I see them in a different way and the membership in a completely different way. Instead of being like, oh gosh, time for this membership. It's like, wait a minute. Actually, it's time for me to sign up for this distributor who is going to make sure that when I step through their door and buy anything, it's always going to be at cost and not more. And
Right.
that's their whole deal. And I appreciate them more now. And I like that because I felt like before this moment, I felt like not only were they making money selling the things, but they were making money from this membership and perception. When we talk about perception, my perception was like, fine, I got to do this because, and then they're making money through, on me as I'm walking around as well. I mean, I wasn't walking around bitter the whole time, but I felt like that was the relationship that we had. But now I'm seeing that it is me paying for the comfort of knowing the the trust in knowing that when I walk in there and buy anything, it's at cost. And I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's something to be, yeah, I like that
And
more.
and remember that the cost, when I share that, I am sharing. It is at their cost that, but that includes their overhead, so their expenses. So they've got their expenses, but not the profit piece. Profits come from the cards.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, but even more so,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Okay, so there is some in there, but not like we're right. Like that's where the
Yeah.
primary bulk of their money is from the stuff. It's coming from the memberships
Yeah.
more so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All their profits come from memberships. That's the way they run the business, and that's the way
Okay.
they have run it.
Okay, so you're saying that the stuff
And they're aggressive. They want to sell you a membership and they want you to upgrade. I mean, they do push, they want you to move to that executive level. I mean, they definitely do that
okay,
because
yeah.
that's where their profits are.
Uh-huh.
I just, it is just amazing, when you think about it. Um, but
Okay.
one of the things they do, though,
Mhm.
when you start to thinking about it, one of the things they do bring in quality. It needs to be high quality. They
Yes.
want the best. They want the best of everything, and they do sell it. They sell the best of everything at an unbelievable price.
And I'm glad that you clarified that because I'm now understanding that basically the price of what something is basically their overhead, covers their overhead, and
Right.
then the membership is where their profit is at. So I still feel good about that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
in my
Oh yeah,
book,
your book.
yes, so everyone's got a recipe. A lot
Yes.
of the ideas that came from Jim Sinegal are the philosophies that I share. Also, the some of the ideas that I call it the nine pillars that I share as far as selling retailers. A lot of that comes from my understanding through Jim and the people that work for him at Costco, and so it had a huge impact on me and how I go to market with my clients.
So I read your book.
Oh yeah, 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 yes.
I
Thank you.
did. I read it, and not being necessarily someone who's looking to market, right? And in
Right.
the way that you've discussed, I actually understood everything that was in there and appreciated everything that was in there. So the book
Yeah.
is actually really good. It's not technical. It's relatable. And so it's not like a textbook. It's a good book in
Yeah, it's
terms.
just like 110 pages.
It's not a big book at all, and it gets right to it, and it's step by step by step by step
Yeah.
of the recipe to
Yeah.
be successful.
Yeah. So my clients have made millions of dollars, multiple millionaires, my clients, multiple millionaires from my clients. And so how did they do that? What did they do? And, this is our 27th anniversary. So looking back, I was able to write the book. I wouldn't have been able to write that book, 27 years ago. It wasn't like I had that formula. I just knew what worked. And so my goal was to continue doing what I had done, with the big multinational players, the number ones in their market. And so my clients weren't the biggest in the world. So my goal, how can I take this food entrepreneur and help him be successful? Like I was successful at Nestle and Unilever with, the biggest brands, literally in the biggest brands in the world. They have, so many, Nestle is one of the few companies in the world that has five different products, five different beverages that have over $1 billion a year in profit. And so that gives you just a little insight into their dominance and the success they have. So how can I help a food entrepreneur who's very low on funds be successful? And that's what I brought. That's what I would bring to the table is the resourcefulness to be successful, though, like you're a world leader, but yet to do that on a budget. And so that's some of the things that I was able to do with my clients.
One of my favorite stories, because we've been talking as friends for about a year now, and so we've shared different things. And one of the stories that you shared with me was some people might think that they, need to sell nationwide. And you
Right.
actually research and be like, actually, you would do better if you just hung out in your state or in your region and you do some research to say, just in this region, you have this many people buying this thing that's similar to
Right.
what you're looking to offer. So you actually do have, is this correct how I'm saying it?
That's
You
correct.
actually
Yep.
have a market right here, and you don't have to be nationwide. You could just be region
Exactly.
wide or statewide and then go from there. Can you expand more on that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's very straightforward, just exactly what you shared. So if you think, oh, I want to have a nationwide brand. I want to be a big company. I want to do a great job. Well, do a great job in your neighborhood. Do a great job in your city. Do a great job in your county. Do a great job in your state. There's enough business. So if everyone in your city purchased instead of purchasing from a competitor, purchase from you're unable to meet the demand of the products in your city. And so there's so much opportunity locally. And so that's the key. That's the important point. How can you make a difference in the category that your product is in your city and in your region? And only after you can dominate and do very, very well in your local city do I recommend thinking about scaling that and going to other cities. And so that's where I get into it. And I share the story I think I shared with you. I'm sure it's the company that did about 7, 8, they were doing about 7 million. It was either 6 or 8. I can't remember right now, but they were doing about $7 million a year in sales. And so they sold nationwide and they had not made any profits. I was able to do my database research, pull up my stuff, and within 100 miles of their factory was $400 million in purchases in their category. So they were going nationwide for $8 million, and there was $400 million within 100 miles of their factory.
Wow.
So guess what? They quit selling east of the Mississippi River because they're on the West Coast. Quit selling east of the Mississippi, sold only on the West Coast as the first year they ever made a profit.
Wow. So you're able to basically someone will come to you and then they would be like, this is me, this is us, this is what we're doing. And then you do actually have a really good brain for seeing things that others may not see in terms of opportunities.
Yeah,
And so you help them to do that. And then guide them from there.
yeah,
And so would you say that's true? Yes.
yeah. That is so. Yeah. My clients, I'm super resourceful, and I
Yeah.
see because of my experience, I see things that others don't see. Yep.
I have a great story for that, which is
Okay.
that you have shared with me in the past, which is Dyson. Is it
Oh,
okay if
okay.
we
Go
talk
ahead. Yeah,
about
go ahead.
Dyson?
Yeah, yeah. Sure.
So, from what I understand, Dyson had a product, correct, that they
Yeah,
were
sure.
using, and they
Yeah,
had
the
this
vacuum.
marketing
This is from the
department.
UK. This is Sir Dyson. Sir James Dyson
Okay.
is the founder and creator of the company. Or do you want me to tell this? You want to go ahead? Did you want to tell the story?
Well, I can give my version or you can my version is basically they only saw the product one way. They saw it
Yeah.
only being marketed one way, one niche for it, and they
Yep.
didn't see it going any other way. And so
Yeah.
therefore they weren't growing
Right.
and then you came in and were like, well, actually, what if you did this with it and market it this way too, or offer it this way too? And then, so
Yeah.
that's the story I'm talking about there.
So what I can tell you the exact, so that's, and we had an 83% increase in sales the following year with that, almost 100%, by doing what you're saying. So how did you, what did I do? What did I do or how did I help them? So I wasn't sure. They're like, Tim, can you help us grow this division? So I was unsure. I said, okay. It's kind of like the schools. Tim, we want to open a school. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know. It's like, I'm curious. What am I going to do? Because I didn't know going into it. I had no idea. Can I help Dyson? I mean,
Can I ask you a
I think of
question?
Dyson. Yes.
Can I ask you a question? Did
Yeah.
you ask him to write you 12 letters every Friday or a
No,
letter every Friday?
no. I was
Mr.
like, I was
Dyson, I
happy. No,
cannot
no,
help
no,
you.
no.
You're gonna have
No, I was like right on it. I was like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah, no, I'm right there. No, I did not do that.
to. Okay.
That's funny. Yeah, but I did think, it's like in the back of my mind, I didn't tell them this, but I was like, how am I going to help these people? Oh my gosh, this is like a magic trick because I had a lot of appreciation for Dyson. I think, oh wow, what could little old Tim, what can I do to help them? Why, how am I going to help them? So I just started thinking about what is it I need to do here? And so it's all about customers. So we need more, we need more sales. So luckily, I have you've talked about this earlier in our call, but I had a mentor that, there's basically three ways to grow a business. You either get more customers, you get larger orders, or you get more frequency in orders. In other words, you're increasing the usage of that product. And so I was like, okay, so I know that there's like three areas. I got to figure out what to do, one of these three areas. And so the first thing I said, please send me every purchase order for your division for the last 30 days. And I was like, oh, so I didn't know if it was going to tell me anything or not, but I thought this is a good place to start. And so I got them and I started going through all of them. And so it's just I didn't know if there's going to be anything there. I said, but this is just a good way to start looking. And so I started going through it, click, click, click. And and then all of a sudden I said, oh my gosh. And so I hit one. I said, oh, that's a big order. That's one of the larger orders. And I looked at it and I said, okay, that's interesting. Then I go through a bunch more. And then there was one more in there that was, there was like, I don't remember how many orders there were in there, but there was these two orders that were interesting and they were in hospitals. And so like either one was really interesting. The other one wasn't as much interesting, but I said, hospitals, wow, these are the biggest orders. I mean, it was so simple. The hospitals are the biggest orders of, oh yeah. And you have a background in healthcare, but, so I was like, okay, so all I have to do, I just need to make sure all the sales reps, they weren't calling on hospitals. And so I ended up, and what I did is I went and built a database of all the hospitals in the reps territories, and I sent them, emailed to the people, and boom, fast forward a year, the division grew by 83%. The single largest client was a part of my database that I'd mailed out. They had called on them, and it was the single largest client for the year was one of those hospitals is in the group. And that was it. That was the solution. And that's what I did for them. I mean, it's that simple.
Yeah, but you
Looking
have to have
back on
that
it.
eye. You have to
Right.
have that eye that's
Yeah.
like, whoa, wait a minute, like a net. Like it's not making
Right.
it through your filter.
Yeah. And I understood that. Yeah. And I understood how important channels were. And so that's what I just knew instantly. And the big part of my success has been thinking about channels. And I have a lot of teaching on this. I talk about you want to, and I already was teaching this for food companies, and so it just naturally happened as well for their company. But one of the things I share with people is don't chase customers, think about channels. And so groups of customers. So for instance, like think about supermarkets or think about home, do it yourself home, or, think of hardware stores or think of what was the other thing was, think of theaters or think of theme parks or think of zoos. And so I've
Right.
actually gone out across the country and worked with zoos and amusement parks. And so don't think about just going to one, like, oh, I'm going to go to Disney. Think about all the amusement parks in the country and then
Okay.
have them. And if you figure out how to sell one of them, then all of them are very likely going to be interested in your offer if it's pertinent to that particular person. And so that's what we did is we're like, oh, okay, we just looked at that channel. Let's explode this channel. And that's what we did. And that's how the growth happened.
So do you help people devise or develop a plan
Yes.
into that, introduction of this is what we have to offer? Like you put
Yes.
together, oh, that's an
Yes.
integral part of that. That's awesome. It's not just
Yeah.
how to, you're actually there for that.
Yeah. And so what I do, what I think about, because I pay so much attention to my customers and to over the years to attempting to understand my clients. Not, oh, I mean, not my food clients, but understand the purchasing buyers. And I basically do their work for them. And so that's how I've been so successful. And so I bring that to my clients. And so that we think about how can we be more appetizing or more pleasing or provide more value. And so a lot of the times people say, Tim, that's not my job to do that. That's a buyer's job. Why do you do so much work? Why do you do their job for them? And I'm like, because I want to sell. That's why. I want to grow. I want to do more. And so that's why I do the job for them. And that's what a lot of people accuse, I've been accused of is doing the buyer's job. Like that's their job. But if you make it easy for them, my goal is for them to be just say approve. Yes, to think about it, not to have any difficulty. Like this is so obvious. It's so much has been done. Of course, I'm going to go forward, and work, work on this project. So that's what I did. Like early on, there's an oil painting. My trade. I have we actually there's two oil paintings in the house, but early on, I did a project with, and this is like 25 years ago. I did a project, Publix, actually. You might even, if you may even, it'll just be fun to see if you even, how long have you been living in Florida?
About 20 years.
Okay, you may not know about this. So maybe 20, you tell me if you did. So
Okay.
about 25 years ago, there were these doctors in New Orleans, and they invented a diet called Sugar Busters diet.
No,
Yeah, so the
I
four
don't know
doctors,
anything.
yeah, so they
Maybe
invented
like
a
an inkling, but I don't
They
know.
wrote a book, and so this is around 2000, year two. I don't remember the year,
Yeah.
but there's a book called The Sugar Busters Diet. It's very popular all over America,
Okay.
specifically in the South. So,
Okay.
so anyway, these four doctors, and they had an ice cream product, and they're out of New Orleans, and they created an ice cream in New Orleans, and it's called Sugar Busters Ice Cream.
Ooh.
And so the goal was to sell it to Publix. And so the way I ended up selling, I sold it to, multiple people, but at the time I helped them sell it to Publix. And the way we did it, we worked with a buyer, but we also worked with the management of the company. And we brought like every employee of the company, we brought like a hundred half gallons for the lunchroom so that everyone in the company could taste how good this product was and how awesome it was. And so a lot of people go like, why are you doing all that work, Tim? Why are you doing all this? It's just like too much, like over the top. But that's how we ended up selling truckloads and truckloads of Sugar Busters ice cream was by doing that and taking those actions. And so,
Sugar Bust.
that's
So
just an example.
what is unique about Sugar Busters ice cream, Tim?
Well, it was sugar free, of course. It was a great
Oh,
tasting
okay.
sugar free, and you couldn't, it tasted like real ice cream. It wasn't like a chemical taste. It was just unbelievable.
That's awesome. Well, now I got to find out about Sugar Busters
Yeah,
and then as we were talking, I looked to see if Dyson is in Costco, and it is.
yeah, yeah.
So they got looks like they got vacuums, hair dryers, and hairstyling tools and air treatments. So they're in there.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. He's an incredible inventor. They do some incredible stuff.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for all the letting me share us have this. I was doing a lot of talking.
This is great. This is